Hi gang, Rob here. It is the evening of 7 May 2025, coming to you today on a spectacular sunshiny 75-degree evening with just a little wisp of a breeze blowing in northeast Indiana. Coming on this evening to give you guys a lift. Hopefully it'll be helpful. So I'm going to talk about my top 5 likes and my top 5 dislikes of the Generation 5 Honda VFR800 that spanned from 1998 to 2001. The motorcycle on your screen is my pride and joy, my 2000 yellow VFR800 Interceptor. And you know, these bikes are kind of legendary as sport tours that trend heavily toward the sport side of things. They're super well made. They have great power for their intended application, a really solid chassis, and they're comfortable enough to ride all day long. Could you put 500 miles a day on a VFR Gen 5? Yeah, absolutely. So it's my favorite motorcycle of all time. But I'm going to tell you what I love about it and some concerns that you might have if you're considering one of these to add to your stable. So I've got my prepared notes, which is very rare for me, by the way. And I'm going to grab the camera, spin it around, and we'll kind of walk around the bike as we talk about these qualities. All right, there she is, my little beauty. So let's see, should we do the likes or the dislikes first? I think let's do the dislikes because they're far less significant than the likes. So number 5, number 1 being the worst, right? So number 5 dislike on the Gen 5 VFR would be the old technology suspension, right? So we've got right side up forks, and they are preload adjustable only, right? Now, having said that, and a disclaimer because mine is not stock, the factory forks with proper oil maintenance will do just fine for 95% of your road riding endeavors, even spirited ones. So the front stock is a little squishier than mine because mine has Racetech gold valves in it, but it's capable. The rear suspension, which is kind of hard to see from the right side, but I think if we peek in here from the left, this is wearing an Öhlins fully adjustable rear shock. The stock shock is, again, plenty capable, adjustable for preload and rebound damping. This Öhlins, of course, has a coarse and fine preload and then rebound and compression damping adjustments, okay? Again, mine I bought with upgrades I probably would have never paid for, but I love. So although the stock suspension performs pretty well, it is older technology than what you're seeing on most of your YouTube review channels these days. My second, or actually my fourth, number 4 dislike of the Gen 5 VFR can be noticed right there. So the Gen 5 was the first fuel injected generation of the VFR. In 98, they came with a manual enricher, and also 99 that behaves just like a choke. It's sort of a manual assist to the warm-up circuit for the fuel injection. The 2000 doesn't have that. It's got an automatic warm-up circuit, let's say, but the fueling, as far as it affects power delivery, wasn't very good in 1998 and 9. Very, very on-off switch like. The 2000s were a little better, and the last year for this generation with the good motor, 2001, it got really good. Mine's pretty good, but not quite like well-tuned carburetors, if that makes any sense. So you'll need to keep that in mind. My number 3 dislike, and again, this wound has been healed on my motorcycle. This is wearing a Sargent Carbon Effects custom 2-piece saddle, but the factory seat blows. And when I say that, what I mean is this. If you're gonna pile 400 or 500 miles a day on, that seat is gonna wear you out. If you are operating the motorcycle in a sporting fashion in the twisties, you're gonna do like, 150, 200 miles a day. The factory seat being a little narrower in the front, this area, the factory seat will allow you to move around side to side a little more. Not that the Sargent is bad, but just something to keep in mind. You're probably gonna want an aftermarket saddle if you buy one of these. My number 2 dislike, walking over to the left side of the motorcycle, happens right here. And I think I mentioned this in my review video. So what happens is, if you're in a tense situation at a stop, let's say you're on a steep hill, or let's say you're turning left and you have an opening in the oncoming traffic, but you need to leave a little more quickly than your brain had devised. What happens is, when you're at the friction point and you've applied a little bit of throttle, if you're at that friction point and you increase the throttle in any measurable way and you're not expecting it, that clutch is going to act like a centrifugal clutch, and it's going to grab right now. And you're either going to look funny or stall the bike, or both. Under normal riding, when your circumstances don't change as you're pulling away, you never notice it, but it's like one of those things that happens when you least expect it and when you need it not to. You get a lurch. It's kind of strange. I think aftermarket clutches can solve that. All of these have it to one degree or another. This one's not as bad as my first one. Okay, my number 1 dislike about the VFR800 Gen 5. Look at all those bugs. I'd have cleaned it, but I'm gonna go ride it. Here it is. The front turn signals. They're hideous. They're like huge orange goiters on the side of the motorcycle. And I don't know that there's a flush mount solution that I've seen that remedies this. On an otherwise beautiful motorcycle, these turn signals are just hideous. Hideous, I tell you. Okay, but that's it, guys. What did I not mention? What did I not mention? And this is one of those issues where you spend too much time on internet forums, you're going to get bad advice. See the 2 brake lines going into that front caliper? This has the linked braking system, non-ABS. And I've kind of explained this before, but when you apply the front brake, you get all the front brake and a little bit of back brake. When you apply the back brake by itself, you get all the back and a little bit of front brake. So in normal sporting riding, it's a front brake only kind of riding. I've never noticed the back brake. All I know is I'll get to it in the likes. So whatever you read about how horrible the LBS is, just crumple it up and throw it away, because it's not true. Unless you are Rossi or Marquez. Okay? So now, let's get to my top 5 likes about the legendary Gen 5 VFR. Number 5, build quality. Just one of those motorcycles in the history of Honda that the boys decided, we are just going to make the best one of its kind in the world. And that's been true really back to maybe Gen 2, definitely the Gen 3 VFR. They're just constructed, well, they're constructed like a top quality Japanese machine. Everything from the way the engines are put together, The body panel fit, although not as good on the Gen 5 as on the Gen 3. The appearance of the dash and the gauges. Triple tree nicely finished out. Clip-ons are beautiful. Just a fine piece of machinery. Number 4, and this will kind of get to something I alluded to in the dislikes, the handling of this motorcycle, given the fact that it's 25 years old, and given the fact that it doesn't have radial mounted calipers, it doesn't have upside down forks, you could probably name some other things it doesn't have, right? But I think they were racing motorcycles a long time before they had upside down forks and radial mounted calipers. And VFR does stand for V for racing. It's just an intuitive handling bike. It doesn't fall into corners and it doesn't fight you. You think about where you want to go, the line you want to take, and magically the motorcycle is on that line. And it rides very, very well all day while it's carving up the twisties. Number 3 in my top 5 likes are the brakes. Now guys, I've ridden a lot of motorcycles, and yes, it's true, a 600 Super Sport will have a shorter stopping distance than this motorcycle. Well, it weighs 100 pounds less. But the LBS with the three piston calipers, big rotors, great hydraulics, make this bike and its ability to stop pretty doggone amazing for 515 pounds of curb weight. Again, disregard what you hear about the linked braking system. My number 2 like about this motorcycle is right there. The single-sided swing arm. Now, mine has been revealed for you because of that high mount stay in tune silencer. The factory can does obscure the wheel. That's why aftermarket exhaust makers do these high mounts, because it's just gorgeous. It's just flat drop dead gorgeous. And that brings me to my number 1 like. The best aspect of the Gen 5 VFR, you can just see one valve cover peeking out between the seat and the frame. It's the engine. What are they, 782 cc's, I think, something like that. A V4 configuration, cross plane crank, which gives them that lovely sound in conjunction with the gear driven cams. They just never act up. This motorcycle may have turned 50,000 miles. Let's see. Did it turn? I can't remember. $49,891. At 44,000, it had a valve adjustment check, and let's just say the technician did not need to crack an adjuster. After 44,000 miles, I think it was the second valve adjustment service in the life of this motorcycle. I doubt that they've ever been adjusted. So it is a beautifully engineered piece of power plant. It makes great linear torque all the way through the rev range, all the way up to what, 11,800 RPM, red line, yeah, something like that. It pulls hard all the way up till the rev limiter shuts it off, and it makes a beautiful noise. I've only felt like it was lacking for torque. And when do you notice that? Exiting a corner, going uphill. There's one stretch of road, and I think I've mentioned this before, where I felt like I needed more, and that was on the uphill run on Blood Mountain in Georgia. It's very steeply uphill. Big sweepers. You need a lot of power to get out of those corners. And frankly, I like the Blackbird better for that. Other than that, You want to go 145 miles an hour, it'll do it. You want to do an 11-second, near 11 flat quarter mile, it'll do it. Oh, and there's one other thing about my number one like, and it's this. Between that exhaust note and the whine of those cam gears, it's just a special noise. It's kind of my favorite mechanical noise in the history of internal combustion. So what else can I tell you? Doesn't matter if you're 22 or 65. If you want to find a comfortable, capable, reliable motorcycle with spirited performance and supreme build quality with great aesthetics, I don't think there's a better motorcycle ever been made than the Gen 5 Honda VFR800. And by the way, the Gen 6s are not this good a motorcycle. They're just not. The VTEC gives you no better performance with worse drivability. And you traded gear drive cams for a rubber band to keep your valve train in sync with your bottom end. This is just a better motorcycle in almost every way, and my favorite of all time. Be interested to hear what you guys think of the Gen 5 VFR in the comments, and if you are considering something like this and you'd like some advice, I'll be happy to give it. So chime in the comments, guys. That's all for this one. Grace to you and peace, my friends, from God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ. Remember, the word is sharp. I am going for a ride. Talk to you soon.